Welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast, where the mind and gym come together to help you live your best life. Hosted by two fitness professionals and your personal trainers, Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie. Is this thing on? Just kidding. We're live again with the Think Fitness Life podcast. And this week's episode, we're having a little conversation about the limitations of scientific data and the turnaround from a discovery to scientific proof from a lab. And then we're going to go on and talk about mastering your mind to master your body, and then end with eating for performance. A little bit of a mouthful, pun intended. Before we get started, we're going to have our weekly workout, and then we'll end with our food for thought for the week as usual. Menchie has our weekly workout that mad scientists. We've both done this workout recently, and it is a killer, but it's awesome. Love it. One of my favorite go-tos.
Favorite? Yeah, it's like it looks good on paper. Then you get through it, it's like, oh, this thing sucks. It is
That's why it's so good.
a barbell complex, or you can, if you have dumbbells, you can use dumbbells. So we're talking multiple exercises done back to back to back for repetitions. So if we have a barbell, we're going to start with bent over rows. You're going to complete 6 reps of the bent over rows. Then we're then going to go into 6 reps of a hang clean. Then we're going to go to 6 reps of a front squat. Then we're going to go to 6 reps of a overhead press, 6 reps of a back squat, and then we're coming to 6 reps of an RDL. Do all those six reps of each. Take 3 to 5 minutes rest in between. Repeat that 3 to 4 times. And it's start light with the weight. The weight's going to start real light. If you're a beginner, start with a empty barbell. If you're intermediate, maybe start with 10s and 5s on each side. The end goal of this is the total amounts of reps you're going to do. So if it's 6 exercises for 6 reps, it's 36 reps total you're going to do within a minute. And we're looking at total volume of weight lifted within those 3 to 5 or 3 to 4 sets of this complex. So you're going to be lifting upwards of a couple tons each time you lift this complex.
And just start with the bar or even a dowel and go 10 reps of all this stuff. And even warm up, you'll slowly build up in weight, and you'll be already sweating before you get 100 pounds on the bar. Almost guarantee it. But yeah, challenge yourself. It's a fun one, and try to go up in weight between the rounds. Try to get all the rounds in without any rest, and then rest at the end.
You're getting stronger. You're going to get more explosive. You're going to be running through this complex. So we're talking about if you're trying to get lean, you're going to burn body fat completely. I mean, it's a all around heavy hitter. It's a go-to build conditioning. Try it out, have fun with it, and see the numbers increase and see your fitness increase.
And you might learn that you suck at cleans, and that's okay. We all were there at some point, and a good little indicator is how tired you get after them, because you're probably not being that efficient with your movement, and you're probably muscling the damn thing. But most of the time, a good little self test is just kind of seeing where that bar is going, because ideally that bar is moving in a straight line. Like if someone's standing next to you filming, that bar is not going forward and back, it's just going straight up and down. But hey, you do the best you can with what you got, and just try to get better. That's a great weekly workout. Let's move on to our first topic, which is something I think is really important to mention to people, because I think a lot of times people kind of wait to take action. They wait to try something after reading about a lot about it, because they're waiting for the scientific data, the proof, the expert. They want to be told what to do. People want to be told how to eat. People want to be told how to exercise. They want to be told what to do to get what they want. But unfortunately, you are your best host for your body. Hold on. I don't want to misquote this one for how many cells there are in the body.
Is that 37 billion? Is that about right? Somewhere up there?
37 trillion
Trillion.
cells. There's
Trillion. I was
37 trillion cells in your body, and there's little ways that they're creating signals to your brain so that you are getting feedback. So you are the best host for those 37 trillion cells, 37.2 trillion cells, excuse me. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. We talked about the ins and outs of scientific research last week, but now we want to talk a little bit about the turnaround time. And I think one example I wanted to bring up first was coconut oil and how um, around the somewhere between the 60s and 70s, um, there was this big influx of coconut oil specifically, and actually, excuse me, that was in the 70s itself, and they fed them to pigs, and they thought they were gonna get fattened up and actually lost weight. But my point is that we've known about coconut oil for 30, 40 years, and it took 25, 30 years for enough science and enough trusted publications, I guess you could say, for them to have enough data out there and articles about there to sway the public to think about, okay, maybe we should try these coconut oils. And I get it. We don't want to be on the front line of, the experimental phase. We don't want to be Icarus flying too close to the sun by chance, but at the same time we need to understand the limitations of waiting for an expert opinion, quote unquote.
Yeah, that the stories like that or instances like that are always great because I mean, back and forth. Apples are good, apples are bad. Research shows this, research shows that. It's always just like pinging back and forth, and it's prevalent with a lot of foods. I know we mentioned last year was the egg study that came out and the meat study,
Oh, that's right.
but it's
Yeah.
it's always this back and forth, and like you said, people get too tied up in what the final deduction is saying. But with that, the importance is look at what the data is saying. So numbers are is it significant or not significant change of effect? And we know that research will always be skewed to who wants to publish data, but there's certain research out there that there's no one funding this. This is just wanting to be done to get research out there in a well-known topic or just get more scientific data to back a thesis or hypothesis. And I think that's great. And there's plenty of studies out there that if you read the data, even though if it's minimal enhancement, you'll take a exercise protocol and you saw a 3 yield increase. I mean, that's great. That's awesome. That's what you want to see. But what people have to realize in studies, in research, at the end, there's always not always, but there's a limitations section, and it will go through what the limitations of the study were and what the limitations of this study are and how this
Yeah.
can impact, say, the rest of the world. So let's say we'll just say example of a coconut study, and limitations were, hey, we only fed this, and this was the only thing we ate along with vegetables and let's say water, and there was no exercise involved, and we got this data. They'll say, hey, this data was limited to this studies. If you add other things with that, it can change the outcomes of the data. And that's where the limitations end. So you're right. We're saying, hey, it's not the end all be all. People look for these definite end guidelines. So we're looking for this. This is bad. This is good. But there's so much limitation out there with data and research.
I love where you're going with it because and I love how we do this sometimes where we talk about a topic ahead of time, but then we come off on two different sides of it because it's such a key part that needs to be said that I wasn't really even addressing. I was addressing more of the side of um, putting this into a broader picture, like take coconuts for example. Um, it was an emerging study, and it's almost like when something new is trying to grow out of the ground and there's a bunch of stuff already growing around it, it just crowds it, and they have more power, they have more strength, and they can really just stomp over this newly little um, plant that's trying to blossom through the ground, or they block its sun, or they block its water. They basically don't let it grow. And that's kind of my point here with this example, because coconut oil was just starting to get studied, but the big players were people who had been studying vegetable oils. And we know that America doesn't have any real tropical uh, areas enough to really support a coconut um, consumer market. So we don't want to really back that. We have to really look at that. Like, okay, so some data comes through coconut oil, and then boom, we don't hear anything about it for 10 years. Like, we got to investigate that a little bit. And we really only have examples of like coconut oil, fats in general, and the sugar industry, because some of these major players, and I'll use another example in a second, but some of these major players stunt the ability of natural findings to make it mainstream because of how the uh, sort of the accounting structure, the financial structure is already set in place. And my one example here, just backtracking real quick on a little side note, is in 1916 or 1918, the first electric car was uh, presented, and there was a model for it, and they had plans for it, and it was another little smaller company, and GM was the largest company at the time. They bought this smaller company, squashed the plans, and then kept doing what they're doing because it doesn't promote with the agenda that they're going for. But that's just because they lose sight. Really, they really just should have gone electrical. But my point is that each individual and us as the public, the citizens, need to be aware of things like that and the limits of the scientific data turnaround. Meaning, the for me, like the limits of me waiting 30 or 40 years for them to work through the politics, them to work through the litigation, them to work through the proper funding, working through the proper media outlets, to then getting this data presented in the right manner. Like for my I guess my point.
Oh yeah, I completely, I 100% know where you're going with this. Like you're looking at the big picture, and I'm taking it a little bit smaller. Once that get
No,
past,
but I like where you're going it too, and I'm fine going back to that because I
it's
guess
limited.
my point, I
Yeah,
guess my point was just, um, you can't wait for the data to come to you. You have to go search for it,
exactly.
and you have to take everything with a grain of salt and collect a little data point here, collect a little data point here, and another data point here, and now you have a perspective, and that's how you have to do it. So, yeah,
The data is on certain things can be hard to find because certain big players don't want that data to be out there, and it will
right.
be limited. That's why I do love when meta analysis come out and they say, "Hey, we did this meta
They've studied like
analysis
10,000
exactly
studies.
over
Yeah.
over 10-year span, and this is what we found," because that's basically taking a bunch of literature and a bunch of research, and you're looking at all the findings together, and you're deducting conclusions of what this is going to find. That's the stuff that I kind of looked the best towards or look for, especially on maybe not the newest topic because topics have been out there, but maybe, hey, give me a meta analysis of alcohol and its effect on health. We did that in season one, I believe, and I found huge meta analysis, and we're basically looking at piles of research rather than just taking
Mhm.
from one study. Those are
Right,
good,
right, right.
but those can be
It just
limited
takes
to
some time.
topics.
Okay, right, right, right. Because yeah, because each
Limited
topic
data.
would need a year, multiple years
Correct.
of time with these studies and getting multiple different viewpoints. So yeah, that would take a lot of time.
And that's
But
the also another limit to research is time. We're kind of working off of time. You need time to any research put through studies and test and result and see what happens. It just doesn't happen in a, I mean, a 6 to 8 week turnaround is for certain things, muscle, workout, fitness, exercise wise. You can look at 6 to 8 weeks and see an adaptation. That's fine.
yeah, Yeah.
certain health and nutrition, other things, you need longer periods of time because we're a human body that just adapts, and we don't live in 12-week blocks. It just doesn't exist. We live in huge blocks of years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about the people who are waiting for this data to come out too, because they almost attach their responsibility of results into that data and to that publication and to whoever did the study, and they just want to say like, oh well, I heard that spinach cures everything, so I just eat spinach now and I'm fine. And oh well, I have a problem, spinach should be the fix, and like, I don't know why it's not working. So I guess to sum it up, it's like we are our own experiment. We are our own lab rat, and we're our own scientist. So we have to, um, try things, take everything with a grain of salt. Again, I don't recommend being on the brink of the science, like Icarus flying too close to the sun, experimenting with like new drugs and stuff. But um, for the most part, if it's healthy and it's fairly safe, what's the harm in trying it to enhance your health or put your best self forward, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually? I just think that it's really important for someone who is looking to make gains and progress in strength or uh, their aesthetics or healing their gut or things like that. And I want to read a little excerpt that I thought helped highlight some of the just the other side of just taking science as the nuts, and just taking everything that science has to say as perfect and gold. So I'm going to read this real quick. And this is from Forbes magazine, and I just really like this short little excerpt. Um, we can't observe or measure everything. Even if the universe weren't subject to the fundamental quantum rules that govern it, along with all its inherent uncertainty, it wouldn't be possible to measure every state of every particle under every condition all the time. At some point, we have to extrapolate. This is an incredibly powerful and incredibly useful tool, but it also has its own limitations. So I just think that's a little excerpt to support my point that you have to be your best advocate, essentially. And again, this is from Forbes magazine, and you can't just take everything that the professionals say, quote unquote professionals. Be your own professional, empower yourself, and really, you should have no problem even being in front of your doctor and saying, "Well, I'd like to get a second opinion." And it's almost a little test. If you tell a professional, "I'd like to get a second opinion," and they don't support that, or they get offended, or you feel a little bit of sense of ego involved, then it sounds like they're trying to hang something over your head and position themselves over you rather than empower you and make you
And I
the
think
best host.
for this and data in the scenario you just brought up is support's a good word. So you want to find research that supports the outcome that you're looking for or supports a healthy outcome. If you're asking for a second opinion from a doctor, you're hoping that he says, "Yeah, I'm going to support you. Let's get you another opinion and let's see what his opinion is, and maybe together we can find a solution to that." It's all about a support system, and we can't just take certain studies and throw them out and keep certain ones. There has to be a big supporting argument for most of them, and that's what we're looking for. And if you're a person who needs that, I think it's to have more support in your life as a system, whether it's referrals or doctors or trainers. Like, the more support, the better you off you have, the more research sources you're going to have. It's like boom. So I
Yeah,
am a
it's
hundred
so
percent like,
true.
data can be limited, research can be limited, but there's avenues that we still need to be able to do to support us as we keep
Yeah,
going on in life.
and I think kind of what I feel like what you're getting to, kind of getting more and more like the bigger picture and more data is really what you want to do is you read one article about something and you're confused, well, keep reading articles about it, get more data points on it, get the bigger picture, try to zoom out and observe the bigger trends or the bigger picture about it. And I think that's a really important point to being your best advocate, being your sort of the person in control of your health outcome, and then also leading us into our next topic too, about strengthen your mind and strengthen your body. If you can start to have the confidence of knowing that you can go out and get the information, you're going to just be that much better, because you're going to have the confidence going into things, to trying things, because there's definitely a role of placebo. There's a placebo effect in everything. And if you can just sometimes believe that something's going to get better, sometimes that works in a sugar pill, right? So the mind is a really powerful tool, and just to be able to make decisions and be cognizant and aware of the feedback systems that your body may be giving you, whether it might be emotional, or you're whatever, it might feel spiritually guided to do something, or physically geared to do something. Just being in tune with yourself like that allows you that much more opportunity for growth and expansion. And I think the next topic title we have is master your mind, master your body. I love it. It's so true. And there's multiple ways and multiple avenues to mastering your mind.
We're all looking for that. And growth is what we're looking for. Mindsets grow. Our mental states grow. They are ever changing. Our body is one ever adapting giant organism of cells that is basically playing off the environment and the stimulus that we're given. So when people look at building mental mind states or mindsets, we have to realize that yes, you can build a hard mental mindset, and some people have that, and it's great that they have that, but it's not a constant mindset. It's always an ever fluctuating mindset. And Matt's going to talk about his mental mindset guy. I know he is. But I think that's great because it's not just like one state that it's like all go. It's like this up and down road to get there, and then you'll find it, and then it can be a on and off switch to get there. And it's always it's always a battle. It's always a work in progress. We're always changing us to be even better. So you could do, something hard on day 1, and day 2 it feels easy. Day 3 you're going to go back and do something more challenging. Yeah, it's going to push you out of your comfort zone, but it's going to make you grow in all aspects. And the biggest thing, especially with physical performance and physical fitness, is the mental side of it. Because we know as trainers that I can do it. Most people can do all these things. It's to the point where their body gets so uncomfortable because of the stress we're putting on the system that it wants to stop and preserve its natural state of being. And then that's their mind being like, "Hey, we're done." But we know that you can push past that and you
Yeah.
create a new set point for your mind and your body, everything else. So that new set point now sticks, and your mindset growth is now further. And it takes a little bit more to set a new set point.
And I think that there's so many things to unpack there, but that's one reason why I love that topic, monotony, the blessed monotony topic episode. Go back and listen to that, people. It's huge, and it's how Eric and I were able to learn this stuff practically when we were younger, because we did the same thing over and over again in terms of practice or conditioning, or preparing for soccer, preparing for football, preparing for wrestling. Um, there were just so many things that we had to do and get into the habit of, and then you would be literally doing the same workout or the same stair run or the same run or the same hill, and get to the point where you're like, this is where I died. Let me see if I can push further. Let me see if I can push further. And you start to surprise yourself, and you start to just break through these barriers. And it's literally like you're breaking free from where you are, and you're starting to expose into this new area of where you want to be. And it just feels so good when you can master your mind like that, because your mind will play tricks on you. It'll tell you you can't. It'll want to stop. And odds are you can physically keep going. But I did want to, before I forgot, I did want to mention two books because I think it's um, we could talk about this all day long because the other part I wanted to unpack here is this is what Eric and I were conceptualizing when we came together for this whole podcast and this whole online training platform is think fitness life mindset first, because you have to control this first. Sharpen the mind, sharpen the body, and live your best life. It's what we're about here. And I I'll end my little rant there. I don't need to convince anyone that the mind is the most powerful tool. Um, Actually, I lied. I'm going to tell one little story
Okay, you're gonna
about just this one guy that I met at my first gym who was paralyzed, or he had an accident and was paralyzed from the neck down, and he just stared at his fingers for a year until they wiggled, and then he did the same thing the next year. And obviously, he was doing upper body stuff, hand workouts, then arm workouts, and upper body workouts. Then the next year, he stared at his toes till they wiggled and everything. And the mind is so powerful, and more powerful than we really truly understand, because we are entrusting our knowledge, our base knowledge, on science and scientific data to tell us the facts. But so after that rant, my main point is that there's multiple ways to mastering your mind. There is the hardening and the mental toughness capacity and that side of it. And then there is centering yourself and meditating and being one with yourself and being present and being aware. So, two books I'm going to mention. One that I love that helped me personally was Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shun Ryu Suzuki. I've probably read that book 10 times. I just read it every couple of years. It's a short read, but it's the best mind fuck you could ever get. And it's beautiful. The whole book is just about self and empowering yourself. But so Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shun Ryu Suzuki. And then I'm just reading this book now called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Master your mind, defy your odds. And they're just two extreme examples of ways that people mastered their mind. And I just think that is a really important thing to mention, because there's no cookie cutter approach and everyone's different in terms of doing this. Um, and then I want to say two more points and then I'm gonna let you go. You think 31% more clear when you're in a positive mind state. This back to science. This is real science proven.
We love stats. Give us the
And
science.
then the fear of loss distorts your perception up to 5 times versus your perception of gain. So we are 5 times more likely to act upon something that stimulates our fear of losing something than we are thinking about gaining something. And if you think about that evolutionarily, of course we wanted to make sure we would live and fight another day than necessarily needing that, reaching out for that berry or that that banana or whatever we could possibly risk our life for. So I just think that those are two little points I'd like to mention.
You said five times.
5 times.
5 times. And
This is data from the FBI and CIA interrogating. That's how they did studies to help them figure out interrogating language.
can you read that stat the second one more time?
Loss distorts your perception up to 5 times versus gain.
And think about the time we're in right now. Think about the mental aspects of people what they're going through. And it's not easy. It is going to be tough. So if we're thinking about loss almost all the time, yeah, we lost jobs, we lost the ability to go out, we lost this, we lost that. Maybe we just what is your perception going to be at life as you start to look? And as we stay further into days where we don't have this stuff, what's it going to look like? This is a huge test for our brain, for the human brain, because it looks for things for growth, for good things, for dopamine release. We're looking for certainty. We're now living in a time of uncertainty, and the brain doesn't do well with uncertainty. The brain is probably going to go back to its evolutionary base brain going, hey, we just need to survive. What is it? I need to eat. I need food. Boom, that's it. Now we have to look at the situations we're in, and this is obviously a worldwide situation. Everyone deals with different situations in their own lives. Like your first client or David Goggins, everyone has these ups and downs. There's always uncertainty, and that goes for everyone. Everyone has them. But if we can recognize those uncertainties and give us some certainty of what the future is going to look like, the end game, what it's going to look like at the end, that's going to be bigger than what tomorrow or the next day are going to look like. So when it comes to building this mindset, we have to look at what does an end goal look like? And maybe it might not be tomorrow, a week, or a month, but what does longer out look like? Do I have something to gain there? And the answer is always yes. There's always something to be gained in life. You can find any avenue to gain something, and then you can use that avenue to make yourself great. Look at what Goggins did, look at what other people do. There's different avenues you can take. And I think that's very important nowadays, because we're going to be in this up and down battle. Our brain's going to go, we don't like this. We need social aspect. We need people. We need groups. We need to be abstract thinking. We need to do all this other stuff. We need music, sports. Boom. That's how our brain operates. I get that. But we need to also find who we are. I'm on board with the meditation. I think it's a great thing to do to find yourself in times of the loss, or we don't have things. It might be looking deeper within you, in yourself, to find what you can actually gain for yourself.
Yeah, that was a really, really well spoken speech. Honestly, I felt like you were talking to all of America. Felt good. I'm pretty amped up here, but you know, I think it's really important that you do understand a little bit of maybe not necessarily a a goal in the sense of like I want to add 5 pounds, I want to look better and things like that, but where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? What's going to turn your life on? And there's a quote that's like, there's nothing more powerful than the human soul on fire. So it's like when you can really like kind of center yourself and figure out what it is you want in life in general, and then you just go out and get it and make it happen, you just feel that much more rewarded. So yeah, you can't just kind of blindly improve your mind. You have to figure out what you're working towards and in what way are you trying to improve your mind. Are you someone who's very rigid and you're trying to be more spontaneous and effervescent and enjoying the moment, or are you someone who is laissez-faire and you need a little bit more structure? We don't know what the solution is, but we know the right fundamentals and the basic structure, scaffolding, so to speak.
And I do
Um,
like what you say, see there, like see yourself there. It doesn't have to be a numerical thing or a certain thing, but if you can envision yourself in 2 months being,
where do you want to be
let's say for me,
exactly?
2 months,
Right.
I would also like, I'd like to be standing on the top of a mountain in Montana hunting. Like
Yeah.
that is for me, that would bring me some dopamine, right? But if I can
Yeah.
actually get there and then experience that and enjoy that, could you imagine the rush it's going to even more give me? That's the basis of motivation. So it's like people need to envision themselves in an experience and an emotion
Yeah.
rather than just what it's going to be. So say you want to lose 5 pounds, that's great, but that 5 pounds emotionally doesn't mean anything to you.
Right.
If you can
Right.
feel and see yourself what 5 pounds less looks like, or you think it looks like, that provides a better emotion experience. It's worth more to you. mindset achieved, see yourself, really see yourself. Great analogy. I love it.
Yeah, I was someone who definitely struggled with depression and also anger. A lot of really short fuse. Like it would take me a while to get angry, but once I got angry, man, it was bad. But um, you know, it did take me to realize like I just want to be happier. I just want to be able to laugh more. And it was like, and I mean, it still is my goal. I try to make a point of laughing every day or making someone around me laugh every day. Because if I'm in a bad mood, if I can make someone else laugh, I'm sure as hell gonna laugh with them. So it's little things like that, and it's about taking the time to reflect. And if anything, this last crisis that we went through is the best sort of opportunity for space and time, for a little bit of space and then a little bit of extra time for you to really step back and understand yourself and who you are and what you want out of this life, because you only get one of them. And guess what, you can do everything in the world because you're afraid of death, but it's coming. We all got death knocking on our door. We all know that it's our last page, and we all just trying to fill the pages in between with something cool or something fun or something to give back and helpful. And um, before we um, run out of time, I want to make sure we get on to our next topic here. But I want to leave you a little bit of time. You have anything else you want to say about? Cool,
Oh, I
cool.
think I am good.
Yep. We
We,
could talk about this all day, people. We love this topic. This is my for me personally. This is what hits home to my heart and strikes me at my core. This is so important to me.
and
Think fitness life,
sometimes
master
the
your
the
mind.
mental coaching part of it is the biggest part. If you're someone who I say wants, maybe needs some more to hear more of this, feel free to reach out to Matt or me. We've had experience in this. Most people have, but it's like, how can we guide you into seeing your path to make your life better,
Yeah.
healthier?
Yeah, there's a good quote that comes to mind after just mention what Mention just said, and it's said in AA a lot, but also I heard, or most recently heard it on Robert Downey Jr. and Joe Rogan talking on Joe Rogan's podcast, and they're talking about how there's just general life energy that kind of pulls you in certain things. You might feel gravitated towards one thing, but not gravitated towards another, right? But they go 80% of life is just getting out of your own way, and I love that, and that really hit true to me. But so yeah, eating performance. Ooh, I got so many points on this,
Fire
and
away.
well, I think we should briefly kind of get on the same page about what we're talking about here. We're just kind of it's right on line with really the theme of this um with this episode, and it does include more mindset, and it is about what's your mindset about food, what's your perspective about food. Is it just about having fun? Is it just to have a little sensory pleasure, but it's being destructive to your body at the end of the day, kind of like having sex with someone who's not your partner, and it feels good at the moment, but then it's just destructive to the relationship. It's the same thing with food. What are you eating for? And I can tell you right now that Mensch and I and a lot of other people in this world look at food as fuel to the body, and they are just in tune with knowing that food is medicine, and food can be more
Yes,
powerful than medicine.
medicine for the body. Oh,
Yes. And you heal the body through food or lack thereof sometimes. But my little list, I made a list of performance guided thoughts of constructing food just to kind of break it down for people. And then I thought maybe you might have some in mind, that the way that you construct food or the way that you might think about when you're constructing a meal. Um, so fast on periods of low activity. You no need for when you have no need for recovery. So kind of eating with your activity expenditure. Like when I go on vacation, we lasted a little cabin in the woods Airbnb. Yeah, we ate dinners and stuff, but for the most part, we didn't really eat breakfast or lunch because we weren't doing much. We would go on walks here and there. We'd We did some yoga, we did some meditating, but we weren't really burning that many calories, so there wasn't a need to just eat blindly breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And some days we'd eat a big breakfast and eat nothing else the rest of the day. Um, Working out on a fasted state. Why? Because I'm going to have that much more blood for nutrients to provide to my muscles for what's doing the work. And I'm not going to be weighed down. And um, you're also going to improve the way your body uses autophagy to clean its own system out and detox. Post workout, window of opportunity. Eat food to refuel your body and repair different proteins after usage. Shutting down your eating to a shorter window, and also shutting down your eating to a few hours before bed so that you save blood for your first REM cycle. If you have blood digesting food in your gut when you go to sleep in that first REM cycle, you're not taking advantage of that blood the, detoxifying your brain specifically, because that's when most of that brain cleaning is done in that first REM cycle. Drinking lots of water. Why? Because we know from years of studies that even a 2% or somewhere between 2 and 3% of dehydration can be a loss of performance. So waters is really important for a myriad of reasons. Skipping out on breakfast and also eating breakfast. Why? Just dependent upon if I'm hungry or not. I don't just wake up and blindly eat breakfast. I might skip breakfast and go on a run, skip breakfast and lift. I might eat breakfast and lift later that evening. It just depends on what I'm doing, but I'm gearing it based around my activity. Um, and then I already said it, but stop eating earlier and keep your windows short. But yeah, just different ways of looking at food and eating in general in a way that's going to enhance the way your body operates, and not just to eat because, well, I don't know, it's breakfast time.
Yeah, that is how I look at food probably more than anyone else on that aspect of it.
I
Vegetables,
know, because you eat boiled chicken all the time. No, I'm
you know,
kidding. You spruce. You had some spices on
change
it.
it up, but it's I'm not looking at the piece. I'm not looking at the piece of chicken as a piece of chicken that it should be flavorful. I'm looking at the piece of chicken as
Protein.
this is protein source, amino acids. This is going to help me build my DNA. This is going to help me build muscle mass. This is going to help a lot of things get done in my body. And the same thing with vegetables. People, vegetables aren't the greatest tasting thing in the world. I will agree. There's some vegetables I don't like, but it doesn't mean I don't eat them
I'm
because
gonna disagree with that. I love some vegetables.
oh yeah, I'm sure you love some, and then you come on, you know I love my peppers, but
I
there,
don't think there's a vegetable I don't love.
but there's certain things just like I'm not a big fan of Brussels sprouts. My taste buds and their consistencies don't match up, but I know those things are badass for my body. I know those things are antioxidants loaded, nutrient loaded. So why wouldn't I put that in my body? And I think especially tell my dad this all the time. That's how you have to look at it. I gave him a ginger fireball tablet, and I was just like, "Eat this" the other day, and he was like, "Oh, what is it?" I was like, "Just eat it. This is going to give you vitamin C, the most you'll need all day, and it's going to help your immune system." And he chews it, and he's like, "This thing is nasty." But I'm starting to get him in the mindset that it doesn't matter what it tastes like because that is going to help protect your system. And
In
especially,
fact, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
go for it. Go for it.
I would say more bitter, more better. That's
Yeah.
all.
And explain to me, especially with what we're dealing with now with this virus, that our immune system needs to be upregulated. If we can give more vitamins and nutrients to the immune system so it can proper functionally and upregulate more, dude, that's a better shot. And he was like, that's it. I'm going to go buy some. So it's more or less like, he's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to have that mindset, the military mindset, like just, we're going to get it done no matter what, because it's good for you. And I think that's how I look at food. Spinach. I like baby spinach, but I'm not huge into like the Popeye canned spinach. Yeah, I'd eat that stuff. You put it in front of me. I know it's good for me. It's going to get down no matter what. That is for performance, especially vegetables and fruits. Maybe not crazy high carbohydrate fruits, berries, antioxidants, pomegranates, stuff like that. Get it into your system, get it in often. You can put it in smoothies, shakes. that's got to be make up
Eat the
majority of
rainbow.
meals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for performance. And obviously, you're drinking enough water. Water is key. People don't get enough fluids nowadays. I don't hate coffee. I don't hate tea. But if you're only drinking 2 cups of coffee a day and nothing else, that's not good for your system. We're all about looking at your system to upregulate it in its functions at the highest level. Like we're tuning up a F1 race car here, a Lamborghini. You're not going to put crappy motor oil or gas in a Lamborghini. You're going to want that thing running off the top of fuel. So why don't we do that for our body? We have to do the same exact thing for our body because it's much more complex, and all these nutrients that we put in make this thing run even better.
In fact, I refuse to drink water out of a plastic bottle. All plastic bottled water has bits of plastic in it. It's been proven in multiple studies. I get filtered water from the tap, so I'm getting still a lot of good minerals in it, and that's the best.
Mm.
Honestly, I can taste the difference. But oh man, just lost my train of thought. I had one other thing I wanted to say, but yeah, be really cognizant and be really stingent and be really um what's the word I'm looking for?
Aware?
No, but there's something about your body. Be very picky. Be picky about what goes in your body.
Yeah.
You get one of them. Don't treat it with shit. The truth about your body being a temple is so true. Like what you're gonna put in is gonna either gonna contribute to your body's ease or contribute to your body's dis-ease.
It literally can make or
Um,
break you. That's
yeah,
what it's going to come down to.
yeah. Um, I really have nothing left. I feel like I have said everything I needed to say about these topics, except I'll end with the food for thought, unless you have anything else you wanted to say.
No, I think for the time we have, we hit them and got our point across, and I think it's time to digest some food for thought.
So the food for thought this week comes from um, a quote that I heard on a podcast a while ago that as we were writing out the notes for this episode, I felt was really important because when you're eating for performance, when you're mastering your mind, when you're looking through the scientific data, you're learning, you're getting experience, you're spending time enhancing your practice of the way you take care of yourself so that you enhance the practice of the way you get to live your life and live the best of your ability. So the quote goes, "You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your highest level of preparation."
I like that.
One
It
more
put,
time.
yeah, it hit it again.
You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your highest level of preparation.
So I mean that just puts it on the person, the individual, because yes, you can
You can
rise, but
mistake.
if
Yeah.
what you put into a situation, that's the highest you're ever going to get, and
Yeah.
that's like putting a ceiling on something, on your mission, your goal. We all know that there's going to be a ceiling there. Our thought, or my thought listening to that, is how do I make that ceiling so high that I can
Yeah.
fall to be at the top of that
It's,
occasion.
you do a little bit every day, a slow, consistent effort every day. I love it, man. Well, that's it for this week, and we will catch you guys next week. Thanks for listening. We hope you gained something from this episode. Our mission is to help people live their best life, both physically and mentally. Check out thinkfitnesslife.com for additional resources and schedule a complimentary assessment with one of us. We're always here to help.